4 names, and 4 overlays ready to go. Same graphic, same animation, different text, transparent background, already sitting over the edit. I didn't open After Effects. I didn't touch a single keyframe. I ran a macro. What you see in that overlay started life as a web page. And in this video, we'll see how a page becomes a video and how that video walks onto the timeline by itself. A Hyperframes project is a folder with a page inside it, index.html. Open it in a browser and you see your graphic animating. It's HTML and CSS, the same stuff a website is made of. The difference from a website is that here you declare how long it lasts. The page isn't a thing that sits there, it's a thing with a start and an end. 2 honest notes. We didn't write Hyperframes. It's HeyGen's open source project, and we call it. And this is not a draw me a graphic box. The page already exists. Either you write it, or, and we'll get there at the end, you have it written for you. What we add is that turning it into a video becomes an action, and an action lives in a macro alongside everything else. The action is called Hyperframes Render, and it lives in the media category. First field, the project folder, the one with index.html inside. And if it isn't there, it tells you straight away instead of trying. Then the output file. Leave it empty, and your file lands in a renders folder inside the project. Format and quality we'll get to in a moment. Frames per second. Leave it at 0, and it uses the project's own. There's an extra arguments box for when you want to pass something straight through to the tool. A 4K resolution, say, or how many workers run in parallel. There's a maximum time because a long render mustn't hold the macro hostage. And there's the field that's worth more than all the others put together. The path of the produced file goes into a variable. Hold on to that because it's the whole of scene 6. 5 formats, and the choice matters more than it looks. The MP4 is the one to publish, small, opens anywhere, but it's opaque. Put over your clip, and it covers everything. If the graphic has to sit on top of the edit, you need an alpha channel, meaning transparency, and there are 2 roads. First, ProRes 4444 in MOV. It's heavy, 12 megabytes against 90 kilobytes for the same 4 seconds. But it's the currency of edit suites, and nothing anywhere complains about it. Second, WBM, which is featherweight and really does carry transparency. But that transparency has to be read, and some programs ignore it and show you a black background. So, to edit ProRes for the web, for OBS, for sending someone a preview, WBM. Then there's the GIF for when the graphic ends up in a chat or an article, and the PNG sequence, which is the road for people who want the frames one by one and know why. One true warning. If your editing program is old, it may not honor WEBM transparency. That happened to me with Camtasia. In that case, MOV or an MP4 on a solid background. And now the piece that makes this a magic Automa video and not a tool review. The render puts the file's path into a variable. A variable can be read by the next action. So, a form asks for the guest name. The macro writes that name into a variable's file, 1 line of JSON, and the render hands it to the page, where the lower thirds text isn't hard-coded, it's a variable. The graphic comes out with the right name. DaVinci's import action takes that file, not one I typed into the field by hand, the one that was just made, and brings it into the project. And one last action drops it on the timeline over the clip. Press a key, type a name, and 30 seconds later the lower third is in place. Swap the form for a loop with a list of names, and go get a coffee. They'll all be there when you're back. That's the difference between a program that makes video out of HTML and your edit making its own graphics. That leaves the question you've been asking for 5 minutes. Lovely, but who writes the HTML? First answer, you write it once. And after that, only the text changes. A channel's lower third is always the same lower third. Second answer, you can have it written. The chat you saw in video 88 builds macros, but it can write a page too. You ask for it in plain words, you get on disk, you open it in the browser and have it corrected until you like it. And one thing you need to know, because you'll see it pop up, when it's an agent launching the render, Magic Automa stops and asks your permission, showing you exactly which folder it's about to run. The reason is simple. Rendering a page means running its code on your computer. Whether you wrote that HTML or it did, the confirmation is yours. To recap, your graphics are a page, the action turns it into video, the format decides whether you lay it over the edit or publish it, and the file's path ends up in a variable, which means in the hands of the next action. You need Magic Automa Studio, Node 22, and the 2 binaries it downloads for you. If you want to see the same philosophy applied to cutting instead of graphics, that's videos 91 and 97. Subscribe, and see you next time.